Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast tactical video. Today we look at the first installment of the Astra Militarum and we speak about the iconic company commanders of the regiments of the Imperial Guard. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to the first video of the Astra Militarum tactical video series. Stay tuned as we look towards all the different roles and uses of the different units in the regiments of the Imperial Guard in your games of Warhammer 40,000. Now this is a new series I'm doing. I have other tactical series, mostly on the Dark Eldar. Make sure you check the links down below for a link to the playlist on the Dark Eldar tactical series. And I really wanted to dive in, starting with the company command squads, as they are the iconic leaders of the regiments of the Imperial Guard. Now, unlike other tactical videos I've done, this video series will be one part to each video, where I talk about the units, their description, and how I would play them in-game, to help you, the fledgling regimental commander, be able to harness the power of the hammer of the Emperor to your whims. So, in order to get started with that, we will begin with the good old HQ choices, move on to things like troops and advisors and dedicated transport and a whole variety of different things. Standing proud amid the blood and thunder of the front lines, the battle-scarred soldiers of the company command squad set an unfaltering example to the men they lead. By Militarum regulations, each company command squad is led by a commander, though in truth the titles held by these officers are as widely varying as the worlds from whence they hail. An Imperial army on campaign may contain companies led by majors, captains, hetmen, demi-consuls, knight militants, etc., etc., etc. However, their soldiers address them. Company commanders all bear the same responsibilities. In the face of nightmarish foes, they must provide their men with a bulwark of unwavering courage and decisive leadership. Most are hard-bitten heroes, skilled combatants and pragmatic strategists whose first loyalty is to the Emperor of mankind. Some rare men of rank may be ineffective fops with commissions awarded through inheritance or politicking. But the hour is too dark for the Militarum to suffer fools for long. Those who cannot discharge their duties soon discover that being the governor's son means little to a merciless commissar. No matter whether the company commander is a cynical career officer or a cold tactician or a bellowing, barrel-chested imperial hero, he and his company command squad form the strategic nexus of the Imperial Guard army. The company commander's orders crackle across the Vox network, bolstering the courage of his men and ensuring that his army functions with precise coordination far superior to anything exhibited by the heretical hordes they face. The squad's firepower strikes at key points, expertly directed to support the efforts of the massed Imperial Guardsmen on the front line. A company command squad is a tiny unit of humans that die very quickly but have a huge impact to the way an Imperial Guard army runs and plays. I'll be talking more about the way to use the Army Special Rules in the Army Special Rules tactical video. But needless to say, company command squads are like you can gear them to anything you really need as a commander. So the company command, there's one commander and then 4 veterans in each company command squad. That is the unit composition. You can also upgrade your company commander to one of the named special characters, which I will touch on briefly in this video, might elaborate on them later. Or you can attach also regimental advisors like astropaths, a master of the ordnance, you know, an officer of the fleet. Things that can really help your army be tailored to any sort of specific strategic aim that you would like. Needless to say, the statistics are human-like, nowhere near what you would expect from, say, a Space Marine, a superhuman engineered warrior, or Dark Eldar and Eldar, which are alien Xenos, so they're faster and better trained. So a company commander has a weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, toughness and strength 3, and 3 wounds at initiative 3, with 3 attacks and a leadership 9. It also comes with flak armor, which is a 5+ armor save, and last pistol, close combat, frag grenades, and a refractor field, a 5+ invulnerable save built into the commander. Now, he is an infantry character. He is not an independent character. The company commander is bound to the small unit that he is with. So his lookout sir rolls are a 4+ instead of a regular 2+ for, you know, independent characters. And veterans have 5+ armor, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, and then strength and toughness 3, like his human-like creature, 1 wound, initiative 3, and a leadership of 7, with 1 attack each and a 5+ armor save. They do have frag grenades, and they have a las gun. Now, where the company command squad comes into play nicely is in the wealth of options that it has. I will highly recommend you don't spend too many points on a company command squad. Try and keep them cheap and to the point. And you do this by focusing it on either anti-tank, anti-infantry, anti-heavy armor, or more of a supporting role. So, regardless of how you want to use them, I've played a couple of games with the Astra Militarum so far, so make sure you stay tuned for the battle reports on the channel. But I really like the more supporting role for the company commander. Don't want to put too many points into the unit, but you want him to be mobile enough to move around and really focus on the orders that they can issue. Now, each senior officer has a list of 9 different orders. Now, this is from a senior officer, so they can use all the orders that are available to the Imperial Guard. And they can issue 2 per turn to any infantry unit that's not in a tank up to 12 inches away. The unit takes a leadership test, and if they pass it, they can execute the order correctly. Now, the orders are fantastic, and they really add a lot to the way that the Astra Militarum army plays in-game. And the company command squad is a huge aspect of this style of gameplay. Now, whether you're running your platoons as a big blob or you're running your platoons as multiple smaller units of guardsmen, each order at the right time can really impact the way that you face off against your enemy. So, the orders are as follows. Take aim. The ordered unit makes a shooting attack, and then when they do, all models have the precision shot special rule. This can be really good, mass volley, fire from las guns or whatnot, or heavy bolters or autocannons. Get some lucky shots in there to take out key supporting characters or weapons. You can use it to that extent. Smite at will. The ordered unit, when shooting, has split fire. So if you have a unit of las guns and you have a las cannon, you can split fire so that the las cannon can shoot at the tank, and your flamers can shoot at an infantry unit or las guns or whatever it is, so you don't waste firepower. First rank, second rank, fire. All las guns add +1 to the number of shots. This is a huge one, especially at close ranges where your rapid firing las guns get 3 shots for each rapid firing las gun. So your even a 10-man squad within close range can have up to 30 shots. Yes, they're with las guns, but massed firepower does a thing on its own. And if you're rolling relatively hot, it's just volume of dice. Forwards for the Emperor is the third order that he can issue. Once the shooting attack has been resolved, the ordering unit must run. So they basically had a sort of battle focus from the Eldar. They can shoot and then run. I mean, they can move up, get close, rapid fire, move back to kind of extend the distance between them and the enemy, or move, fire, and get out of line of sight. Things like that. Quite useful in the right situation. Move, move, move is another good order, allowing the unit that runs to roll 3 dice and choose the highest, giving an average of 5 or 6 on the run roll. Very, very useful if you're trying to get to objectives mid to late in the game, or trying to get a unit into position faster. So use this one effectively. Suppressive fire is a fun one that I've used a couple of times. All weapons in the ordered unit have the pinning special rule. Very useful to try and stall the enemy who is advancing if they're not fearless. You can really try and pin them in place with multiple units, cause multiple tests for pinning. Cause a casualty, pinning test. Cause a wound, pinning test. And because your senior officer and your platoon officers can do this order, you can really put a lot of pressure on enemy units who eventually will fail a leadership test to stall and advance in the game. And I found it to be quite useful. Then the senior officer has a specific list of orders that only he can use. Bring it down. The models in the unit have Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter special rules. Very good when firing at tanks or monster screechers. Can be great when you're trying to take out tanks and shoot at monster screechers with your las cannons or your plasma guns or even your las guns. So use this one effectively. Fire on my target. The unit gains ignore cover. Out of all the rules, probably in the meta that we play right now in 7th edition Warhammer 40,000, that rule is one of the strongest ones you can get. Auto cannons with ignore cover against skimmers, las cannons with ignore cover against any sort of tank. It really comes into play a lot. Things like heavy bolter weapon teams, las guns with ignore cover against light infantry. So out of all the orders, I believe that one will be one of the ones you will be using the most in your games. And last but not least, we have the get back in the fight. He can order a unit that has gone to ground, that's falling back, to basically get back in the fight, and then they just stop running, or they get back up from being to ground and just act normally for the rest of the turn. And this can be huge. Unit goes to ground for taking heavy fire, mitigates damage, get back in the fight to keep on fighting. Great when you're behind an Aegis defense line or behind a bunker. You just want to hit the ground to make your guys survive and get them back up to then shoot next turn. The applications are endless for this. It's fantastic. Okay, so that's what I like using my company commander for. I put him in a Chimera because you can take a dedicated transport as a Chimera, and he can issue commands from the Chimera, which extends his radius a little bit because you measure commands from the Chimera's hull. And I also give him a standard because the regimental standard allows all friendly infantry units or units to re-roll failed morale, pinning, and fear tests, which is great because it keeps your guys around longer if they don't have commissars or they don't have priests to tag along with them. And last but not least, I give them a few melter guns. The reason being, if anything gets too close, the one-shot melter gun can take use of the veteran's higher ballistic skill of 4 to average more hits and try and get them out of a nasty situation. Although, if the enemy has come to the point where they're basically attacking your commander head-on, you're probably in a bad space anyway. There should be a little bit of buffer between your company commanders and the rest of the enemy army. So it's rather grim if your company commander's on foot surrounded by enemies. Probably not having a great game so far. So, what other options can you pick? Well, there's a lot of different things you can do. For one, you can add one of 3 different advisors. An astropath, which is a psyker that can take telekinesis for like a psychic shriek or whatnot. You can take a master of ordnance that gives you a special, barrage shot, like an orbital bombardment, every turn that scatters wildly, so you can do that if you'd like. Or you can take an officer of the fleet. Now, that is probably my favorite, because the officer of the fleet can take a leadership test to either make your opponent suffer a reserve penalty or to help you, have a better odds of getting your reserves in when you need them. And I think out of all of them, I like that one the most, because you can force your opponent to not be able to rely on his reserves as much, or you can help yourself get your reserves better in at the same time. So I think that helps. Now, the company commander can take things like melee weapons, he can take ranged weapons, specialist war gear, heirlooms of conquest, he can take all the shebang. My opinion, don't really spend points on him. Like, I don't really give him anything. If he's in combat, he's usually dead anyway. Just spend the 60 points for the company command squad. Don't really upgrade him at all. There's no point. He's probably going to die a horrible death. So just keep him inside the Chimera and only get out in the direst of circumstances. A veteran can carry a Voxcaster. Can be cool. A lot of Voxcasters add up, but if you have a couple of key units that you'd like to reroll leadership tests to, Voxcaster is not a bad thing. But if you do, then you can't take the special weapons, and that's where the company command squad really comes into itself. Is you can buy up to 4 special weapons for a command squad: melter guns, plasma guns, flamers. So you can focus the unit on something. I prefer the melter guns, but some people like the plasma guns, some people like the flamers. I highly recommend against the flamers because you're wasting the veteran's ballistic skill of 4. But you can take 4 of those weapons if you don't take a company standard. So, company command squad with a plasma pistol, and then 4 plasma guns. You could potentially have a lot of plasma coming out of a small killer unit that you could use to kind of take on anything in the backfield that comes at you. But in order to make full effect of that, you have to get out of your ride and stuff like that. So, be smart with your company command squad. Keep him in a middle, central area, so he can kind of bellow orders within 12 inches. The warlord traits are fantastic. I'll talk about that in the special rules tactica video. And then it goes into a bunch of different upgrades, like a medipack for feel no pain for the unit, or you can give one, you turn one into a heavy weapon like a las cannon, autocannon, mortar. I don't really recommend those because they lose the mobility. Or you can take things like crack grenades if you want to at 1 point model, or carapace armor for the unit, or camo gear to give them +1 to their cover saves. All in all, keep it cheap, keep it focused to either anti-tank or anti-infantry, and if you're going to use a regimental advisor, I highly recommend the officer of the fleet, and I would recommend a Chimera transport for the unit to keep them safe and to extend the bubble for the leadership orders. So that's it in a nutshell. Now, if you don't want your generic company commander, you can upgrade your commander to be Lord Castellan Creed or Colour Sergeant or you can upgrade a veteran to be Colour Sergeant Kell, or upgrade your commander to be Colonel Ironhand Strachan, or add Nork Dead Dog, which is like a beefed up Ogrin to the unit. All these more than double the base price of your company command squad. In a big thematic game, Apocalypse, 3,000 points, 2,500 points, go right ahead, go nuts. Personally, I don't like spending extra points on characters like this, and I would much prefer spending points on things like a Lord Commissar, or something that gives me a little bit more tactical flexibility in-game, like Commissar Yarrick, or like priests, or psychers or engine seers that you can use and disperse around the rest of the army to help key locations in-game. So let me know what you think. If you're an avid Astra Militarum player, let the experience show, and write down in the comments below what it is you think that you like or you dislike about the company command squads and how you feel them. As always, we're on a quest to hit 8,000 subscribers, so thanks a lot for your support. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Stay in the trenches, as Spiky Bits would say, to the content. Like, share, show the people that you care. This is Skari, your grateful host, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this Astra Militarum tactical series. Skari, out.